Melanie here with Christian Craft Paper. I want you to welcome you and let you know that today we're going to be doing the step-by-step tutorial for the Mountain Moving Faith Bookend. And this is the May kit that we'll be doing. So these are the cute bookends that we'll be making. So you may have one of a few different kits, well, at least a couple different kits. You may have the Decoupage napkin kit with the project, or you may have the rub-on transfer kit with the project. And so I'm going to show you a couple different ways that you can do this using this one that I already did, so I can show you how it's going to work, and then also with the napkins. I also have the printable club here because if you have the deluxe membership, then you might have the printables that you could work too. So I'm going to show you where you'd work each of those in, but this is the project that we'll be doing. So you can use these individually to hold books, either one and push the books this way, or you can use them together as a cute little sign. But that's what we're going to be working on today. So we're going to start with the things that you have in the kit. So if you have the Decoupage Kit Club, you should have your Decoupage napkins. If you have the Rub-On Transfer Kit Club, you should have your Rub-On Transfer set. And then if you have the Deluxe Club, then you will have both the napkins, the Rub-On Transfers, and you may want to print out your printables as well, because those you can use as well. And again, I will show you where you would use each of those as we get into this process. So then as far as your kit, what you should have is you should have 2 of the smaller triangles in a thinner wood. Then you'll have 2 of your larger triangles here in the thicker, heavier wood. You'll have your little tree cut out, and then you should also have a little thing of crafting glue. So this is like a sample size of the B7000. I really do recommend, especially now that we are doing all of the wooden projects, for you to get to go online and get a bigger container of this. We're going to be using this a lot, but this is just a little sample. The reason being is the hot glue is not going to hold very well on these because we're going to be painting and we're going to be waxing, and the hot glue doesn't like to stick to the wax. So we're going to use this and make sure that they stick very well. So that's what we're going to do to get started. So I am actually going to start with my smaller pieces of wood, which are these ones here. And I think I'm just going to take these off because they're already giving me a little bit of a headache. But we're going to start with the little ones. So what we're going to want to do is we're going to, for the example I'm going to show you, I'm going to be decoupaging one of them, and I may use the printable for the other one because in my example I actually used the rub-on transfer. But for either one, we're going to want to prep it first so that we can see, so that our design really pops. So I'm going to take my Waverly Plaster, or Waverly in Plaster. This is just a white chalk paint that I get at Walmart. I know there's another brand, any brand of chalk paint will do. But we're just going to give it a quick little, let me actually move up here so where you can see. We're just going to put like one light coat, and we're actually going to do all the way around because it's just going to make it easier. Technically, you don't have to paint the back because we're going to be gluing it on to the wood, but I just think it makes a nice, I like to get in the habit of doing the back because you never know when a little bit of it might show, or you know, you're not paying attention. I just get in the habit of it because I do resell a lot of my items, and so if I just get in the habit of finishing the back, then I don't have to get completely done with it and be like, oh, the back's raw, dang it. So it just makes it easier. So we're going to coat all of the sides, and then we're also going to coat the ends here. I gotta get this up here where you can see it. If you've been following me live, you know we've kind of changed the setup a little bit, and anytime you move the cameras, then it moves what you're able to see on the videos, and I forget. So again, we're just doing a quick coat just to get it a nice finished look. Need to get the top here, and then come back down and get the bottom. All right, I'm going to hit it with the heat gun a little bit, and then we'll be able to touch it a little bit more, and we can get the bottom. Now, the heat gun isn't a necessity, but it is very handy, especially if you do a lot of crafting and you're not a patient person, such as myself. Okay, we just want to dry it enough that we can handle it a little bit more. I want to make sure I get my little tips here. And then I still need to go in and do the bottom. Again, the bottom is going to be, you're not going to see it, but if you want a finished look, I would just hit it with a little bit of paint. Now, anywhere where you've cut the wood is going to be a little bit more what I like to call thirsty, meaning it's going to take a little bit more paint. It might suck it up a little bit. You might have to do some dabbing. I mean, you don't want to do too much because it will take longer to dry, but we want to make sure that it's covered. All right, I think we've got a good cover on that. And we are going to put it this way and we're going to let it dry. I do like to have my little bin here with water. That way I can just put the paintbrushes in there once I'm done with them and they don't have to worry about them getting hard and crusty while I'm doing the rest of the things. And that's going to be it for the white today. Now, and that's because I already painted a second one, so we didn't have to wait for it to dry. So I've got that one up there all ready to go. And the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to get my little tree. I think we're going to do the little tree next. Now on this version, I did paint the tree and I did it in, I believe, sage. I'll show you what that one looks like. Yes, it's Sage by Waverly. I did that one green. For this time, I'm actually going to stain the tree. And we're going to be using the Dixie Belle Best Stain Wax in brown. If you've watched me before, you know this is my favorite wax. I thought about trying the gray with this project, but I'm just loving the brown with the wood. So we're going to stick with the brown. But we're going to be using quite a bit of this today. So I need to move these out of the way so that I can get up here where you can see. I'm going to be doing the projects on my plate today, and the reason, the mat is washable, but since we're doing darks and we're working with whites, I don't want to get the wax on the mat and then place my pieces that I've painted white. I don't want to place them on top of that wax and ruin them. So I'm going to come in here with the brown, and I'm just going to be pretty aggressive on it because I am looking for a darker color. So typically when we use this for antiquing, we are dabbing off the excess and then we're coming in and just lightly hitting it, which that's an option too. If you just want to do like an antiqued edging, you could do that where it's just more light, and that could be it. I'm going with just a really dark. I want it to kind of match the outside pillars that we're going to be doing, and I'm going to be waxing those as well. So I'm just trying to kind of match that. All right, so we've got it pretty nice and dark here. You can tell I've got a little bit extra on there. Now what you can do, if you're worried about having some extra, you can go in here with just a rag, one that you don't mind ruining because it is wax. It does have color in it. I'm just going to come here and I can just take the excess off. So there we go. We've got our little faith tree in the wax. I'll kind of, so you can see the color. And we'll put that aside as well. Now I'm going to leave the wax out because we're going to prep the bases. So I'm going to grab one of my little stands here. And again, we're going to be pretty aggressive with the wax today. So you don't even have to dab it off. We're just going to go ahead and come in and just hit it. So you can see like right where I pushed that, had that big blob right there, I can just spread it out, okay? Now when you're using the wax on these pieces of wood, you want to go with the grain, and that's what's going to bring out the actual wood lines, like the personality of the wood, because that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to highlight all the little grooves and all the little circles and all the little lines. Like that's what we want with this project. So we've done the front. We're just going to turn it, do the back, or I'm sorry, do the inside, or I guess it's the outside technically of our little mountain, our little wood mountain. And we're just gonna kind of come in. And depending on the saw blade, you might have some personality on this inside here where you've got little ledges or lips. And those aren't flaws, they're personalities. So that each person's craft is gonna look a little bit different. Nobody wants the same thing as everybody else, right? All right, I'm gonna go ahead and do the bottom next. And again, we're not gonna see the bottom, but we're just gonna finish it. We want a nice finished project. Okay, let's go ahead and do the spine. Now on this first one I already have one done. I have, this wood is naturally very rough here on the spine. That's fine. If you don't like that texture, you can take your sanding file or a sanding block and you can come back through. I'm just gonna touch that one up while we're looking at it. You can come back through and you can sand that down a little bit if you don't like that texture. Some of them are going to have texture, some of them aren't. It's, you know, each piece of wood is different. And again, I personally love the wood that has all the knots and the chingaleras and all the fun stuff. Like, those are the pieces that I look for. Anytime we've done wood shelving or anything like that, I'm always looking for the piece that has like the most, I don't know, flaws, I guess you would say. I mean, some people want wood that doesn't have any flaws, and I'm more of the ones that like, give me the one that has all the knots, all the personality, as long as the knot's not falling out. And some of the ones that we've purchased, the knot is falling out, and I just glue it back in because I just like the personality. I mean, you think of us as we go through life, none of us go through unscathed, you know. We've all got knots and scars and things that have happened to us, and those are the things that make us us. All right, so I'm just taking the excess off, and there you go. Now you're going to want to make sure you get that off of your hands. I'm even going to dip my hands here in my water that I have, and just make sure I get the majority. Like, you want all the wax off your hands, because now we're going to be touching the white pieces, and you may want the wax on your white pieces, you may not. So I'm just, you know, make sure that you do a little wipey in between if you want that the nice crisp white. And you don't want wax to get somewhere where you don't want wax to get. All right, so here's where we can get super creative. And depending on what you have in which membership you have, there's a bunch of different ways that you can do this. So again, notice I'm like checking my hands with the wax, because I just want to make sure I'm not getting my white all waxy. All right, so we've got our white pieces here. Now also keep in mind, you didn't have to wax these. If you want to paint these outside, you can paint them. You could do the outside white and the inside, which I probably should have done. Probably should have done the outside white and do the inside waxed. You could do the whole thing white. You could put snow caps on here. There's so many different things that you can do, and that's just part of the fun and the creativity. So let's start with the printable club here. So if you have the printable club with your membership, you will notice, here, I'll take these off just so I can show you here. On this particular one, you have the Corinthians one. This design here is sized for this particular block, okay? And then also you have this one here, again, is sized for you. Oh, let me get the right way here. I'll scooch it over so you can see. This is an option here, okay? So you could put that one on that one. So you have those options. Then you also have the other ones for the other side. So if you wanted to do verses on both of your mountains, you could do that, okay? Same with the larger one. Like if we flip this to the other side, this fits here. It fits the larger block, okay? So if you have the printable club, that's some options that you can do, all right? So if you're part of the deluxe club, you'll have those to choose from. I'm just going to push them out of the way here. I could probably do one, actually. Then if you have the napkin club, I'm going to open this first. You have 2 verses on this one, but they will only work the way that I did them. they'll only work on this right side here. Okay, so you're gonna do it this way if you want to use that one, or you can use this one this way. All right, and you will see here at the bottom, because that napkin doesn't go all the way, I actually cut off the lines exactly on the line, and I use those lines to make these stripes here. Okay, that's how I got the napkin to fit all the way down there. So I feel like I should probably do one that way, so that if you have the napkin club, you can figure out how to do the napkins. But I think I'm going to use the other verse. I'll use the mark one. So let's take one of those so I can show you how to do the lines. And then on the other side of mine, I actually used the transfer that comes in this month's kit. So this particular one right here, this is the transfer on the actual white wood, okay? The transfers are pretty self-explanatory as far as you're just going to peel it off and then stick it. But I'm thinking I'm going to use some of the other transfers, because there's a bunch of different ones that we can use along the side and stuff. So I'm going to keep the transfers handy. So again, for the transfers, you have two different ones that will fit on this side. You have the mark one. Is it mark? Yeah, the mark one that I used. Did I use the mark one? Yes. And then you have the Matthew one as well. So either of those will fit on the one side. All right. So we will do the decoupage first, because it's going to take a little bit, and you are going to have a little bit of patience. Need to have a little bit of patience with this one. So let's put these up here. My kitty cat is not happy out there because my husband went out in the garage without her. So if you can hear her, that's what's going on. Okay, for the, I'm just going to move stuff around here. For the decoupage part, we're going to do the iron-on method. So I'm going to get my iron on and ready. All you're going to need is your Mod Podge, your iron, and you're going to need parchment paper. So I always have a little piece just here in my drawer that I keep folded up and ready to use. We're going to need some scissors here, and we're going to carve. We're going to have to put the glasses back on for this one. We're going to cut this out. So I am going to use the mark one this time, because I used the Matthew one on the other one. So the first thing that we're going to do is just cut out the part that we need, and I'll show you how we're going to do this. And again, this is just to kind of make up the extra space, because I'll show you the way that we put the napkin on here. It's going to have the first line. That first line is part of the napkin design. These extra lines are not, we don't have those. Otherwise, that your design's just going to end right there, which is fine. There's other ways to cover it up, but I'm just going to show you the way that I did. Okay. So the very first thing that we're going to do is we're going to cut this napkin right down the design. So we're just going to carefully cut right where the two designs meet, so that we can grab the side that we need. And I'm not separating any of the plies first. Okay, so now we have our mark that we're going to use. And we're going to figure out which way we're going. We're going this way. I forget which way we're going. All right, we're going this way. So what you can see, oh, actually, we're not going that way. We're going this way. I kid. We're going this way. So what you can see is once you put this down, you're going to have this line right here, which is actually fine. You can leave it just like that. But if you want the stripes, I'm going to show you how to do that. So what we're going to do is, because you can tell by putting this up here, you don't need any of this line right here. See how once you fold it down, it's just gonna, we're not using any of that part of the napkin. So what I did was I came in here and cut the outside off first. Again, you're just gonna follow the brown line as close as you can all the way up. And this one line of brown is going to be all that you need to make the stripes. And you don't have to do stripes. You could do chevrons, or you can make all kinds of patterns, because technically you have all of this brown too that we won't be using. All right, so I cut the outside off. Then I'm just going to come in and I'm going to cut the inside off. And that's going to leave me with that brown line right in the middle to use as my design, or to use with my design. So we're just carefully cutting it. And I think the hardest part is just don't make sure it like falls to the ground or flies away, or you accidentally throw it away, which I think I almost did when the first time I did it. Okay. So we've got our little brown line here, and we've got our napkin. Before we go any further, we're going to go ahead and put our Mod Podge on here, because this can be drying while we are doing all the other things. Brush. Forgot what I was doing. And I might have put a little bit too much Mod Podge, which is pretty much par for the course for me. So this is one of the reasons I like to put the extra plies like just right on the top of the trash can, because I might need them to fix my heavy-handedness. Now you do want to make sure you get all the way to the edges, because we don't want the tip of our mountain coming back off on us. Just like that. So we're going to let that one dry. Put our brush in the water. I'm going to keep this handy because I have a feeling I might need that brush again, and we're going to use it. Okay, and so the next thing that we're going to do is, I saw someone do it this way. I'm going to see if it works for me. All right, it kind of worked. So each of these napkins are 3-ply. We only need the top one. So I did just do that, and I would actually not recommend starting at the top that I started at, because we actually need this tip to be pretty much perfect. So if we tear it or mess it up, that's going to really mess with what we're trying to do. So I'm actually going to pick one of these other corners and work from there. And see, I just saw some lady do that sticky fingers like that, and it worked great for her, but it just does not for me. It does not. She also did that way, and it didn't work either. You know, the way that usually works for me is I just tear off a little piece of whatever I don't need, and then that usually exposes the different layers, and I can separate them from there. So the moral of the story is, do what works for you. And if the way that I do it doesn't work for you, well, by all means, don't do it that way. Do it the way that works for you. All right, so we're going to gently separate these. Now, this particular napkin is what we call like a full print, meaning the whole napkin has ink on it. So when the whole napkin has ink on it, we have to be a little bit more gentle, because it is going to be a little bit more, I don't want to call sticky, but it just doesn't, sometimes it doesn't want to separate as well. And so it is giving me a little bit of issue, but I'm just going to keep working the bottom where I can afford for it to tear like it is a little bit. See how it's tearing a little bit? That's fine, because I don't need that portion of the design. But that's why I didn't want to start on the inside corner in case it decided to give me an attitude, which it is. All right, I'm just going to keep, this is giving me way more of an attitude than normal. All right, so for this one, I'm just going to keep gently going, and I'm going to work up here at the top. Okay, definitely want to keep my triangle shape. I don't want to be tearing off any portion of my triangle, because we've kind of cut it to fit exactly. So again, just keep gently working with it. I know you can't see what I'm doing, but I'm just separating it on the inside here. Whew. You can even tell from the tip, that very tip of it did not want to separate. And it's probably because I touched it with the Mod Podge, if you saw there in the beginning. So learn from my mistakes. All right, now we're separating pretty good. Okay, so we're gonna just keep going down the side that's working. And there we go. Okay, we can see that our Mod Podge is dry. So we're gonna go ahead. Now we do have some room. Actually, we are gonna want to clean up this edge. So I'm gonna do that really quick. I forgot that. We are gonna clean up this edge because if not, all this extra here is going to stick to our canvas and we don't want that. We want a nice clean line. So I'm just gonna cut it. Yes, it would have been easier to cut it before when it was more than one ply, but hindsight 2020, right? So I'm just gonna go through here and gently give it a little trimmeroo. This part at the end is gonna get cut off anyway. There we go. But I do want that nice line so that I can do my other lines. Okay, so from here, you do have a little bit of wiggle room. You can push it up if you want, the mark more towards the top. Obviously don't push it too high, you're gonna lose the 3 or a portion of the 3. I'm going to make sure you can still see and I can still see here. I'm gonna put it pretty much right there. So the most important part is you wanna get your edge lined up if you can, as close as you can, because we know that's a pretty straight edge. If you go over a little bit, which you can, we'll just file it off. So I actually think I am gonna just go over the tiniest bit. Okay, so there we go. I think I'm gonna go with this. So the important part here is I wanna keep it flat and I don't want it to move as I'm putting the parchment on it. So just kind of slide it out, make that transition, make sure we've got the tip all the way covered. We do. Now we can come in with our iron and we can just iron this down. All right, that looks good. It will be hot, so just be careful, but we just want to make sure I just give it a little, making sure everything, yes, everything is good there. Okay, the next thing that we're going to need is our sanding block or your little nail file. If you got one of our starter kits, or a nail file will work. We're going to come in and we're just going to sand off this edge very lightly because I don't want to sand off my actual paint underneath, but I'm just trying to separate the napkin. So it doesn't take a lot of pressure, and you want to make sure you're not sanding up and down. You just want to go down. We're just going down and back. All right, so you can see we didn't take off any of the paint. We did good there. We're going to come around and do this other just little edge because I did overlap it the teeniest bit. So it's just going to have these little scraps coming off. And it's almost harder to get the little scraps off than it does to just sand off a whole piece because you got all the little pieces here. Now, if you got any of your paint balled up there on the edge, you could sand a little bit harder and get that off. And then the last one is the bottom here. We're going to take that off. And there we go. So you can leave it like that and not do any stripes. If you just like this stripe, you could actually paint this a different color. And let it be. You could take your other napkin over here and do the same exact thing on the other side, and then you'll have matching stripes, like a stripe on each side. That'll work too. So you have well, you have tons of options. So let me show you how I did the stripe. So it's going to be the same process, but you're just going to cut off whatever length that you need. You're going to go through basically the same process that we just did. You're going to need to separate your layers. This is actually going to be the hardest part. So give yourself, I would give yourself some room to tear, or however you're going to separate. So there's our one layer. Now we need to get the second layer. And I can see it, but I cannot grab it. So if you need to tear it again, you can also try the other side. I can see it, I can't get it. All right, we're gonna switch. We're switcheroo. Because I can see it on this one. Again, precision transfer tool to the rescue. I love this tool. It's actually for transfers, but it's very handy. All right, so for this one, we're just gonna go ahead and tear the whole stripe off, and then hopefully I have enough in this little piece that I don't have to fight with that one anymore. Okay, so again, it's gonna curl up on you because we just separated it. So you're just gonna have to work with that a little bit. All right, so we're gonna put it down here, and I am going to, the slightest little spit there, and that's just to stick it so that I can put my parchment paper on it, okay? Then we're gonna come through and we're just gonna hit it with iron. Sand. And I still have the little tail here because I'm gonna use that piece again if I don't blow it off the counter. All right, and then I'm gonna come in here, give it a little spit stick. Try and get the same, you know, we're trying to get the same angle, same spacing. Again. And we'll iron it on again. There we go. And that's how I did the striping. So again, optional, you don't have to do it, but if you're like, I really love that look and I want to know how to do it, Melanie, that's how I did it, right? So we've got the stripes on the one side, we have nothing on the other side yet. So that's pretty much this side. You know, we have almost kind of what we want going on there. Now for this one, we could leave it plain and just put the tree on there. So let me kind of show you some different. Hold on, let's do a little cleanup here. We're gonna get some of this out of the way so we can see what we're doing without all these little pieces floating around and our little sand everywhere. It's kind of like you're cooking, right? Clean up as you go. I try. I'm not the best at that. Okay. So if I move my other one up in here, we could just do the tree on that side. That's an option, okay? Now the way I did this particular one is I overlapped the tree over the stripes. And in all fairness, I did it because I felt my stripes look crooked. And I don't know if they really are crooked. You know how sometimes it's just because you have angles going this way and angles going that way. They might not have been. But that's kind of why I put it over there because I was trying to hide that. So that's an option there. Transfer club. If you have the transfer club, you're just going to put the transfer on there and transfer it just like you normally did after it's painted. Like I mentioned, I'm probably going to do, I want to do some chevrons, I think, over here. And so I think I might actually leave that. I think I might just do it on the plane here as a contrast, because what I'm looking at, we have gray, we have these gray chevron, we have some black chevron, we've also got some of this wavy here going, we've got the Corinthians verse here that I could take up the side if I wanted to. I kind of like that. See, this is the hardest part. The hardest part is deciding what it is that you're doing. All right, I think I am gonna do the Corinthians up here. All right, so for the transfers, we're just going to cut out the transfer that we're going to be using. You can see what I'm doing here. You just cut it out, whichever transfer you want to use. There's also, I think I just hit the camera with the thing. You could do the little mountain on here. There's this faith tree that would also fit on here if you want to pop a color. There's these trees. There's all different ones on here that will fit on the different blocks. If you have the transfers, you could come in here with the campfire. You can come in here with the mustard seed plants. You could even fit, well, part of it would fit. Maybe couldn't quite fit that one. But as you can see, there's a bunch of different options. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to leave my block on here. Even though we don't have it attached yet, I want to get an idea of where it's going to be so that I can line up my verse here. Now, because we cut this off of the edge, this part is going to be straight. So we're going to use that to our advantage. I'm going to go ahead and peel off the backing and make sure that I'm not touching this side at all. I want to hold it where, notice I stop breathing as soon as I go to place my, but I want to hold it where, and I'm going to have to shove this a little bit towards me so I can make sure. I want to hold it where my fingers aren't going to be touching anything. And I kind of want to get it centered to where my inside mountain is going to be. Okay, I can move this out of the way now because I've got it placed where I want it. And I'm going to come in with my transfer tool. And I could have done it closer to the edge, but I was using that edge to kind of get it on there straight. So if you're braver than I, feel free to push it up higher. If you're deciding you want to do this technique. All right, so as we're transferring, we're just going to make sure that it's ready to come off before we peel it too far off. Okay, so see, I started lifting that one and it wasn't quite ready. So we're just going to want to make sure that as I lift up, that the letters are turning, it's almost like a clear. You'll see that it's stuck and it will start being kind of transparent. So don't go faster than it's ready to release, or you will lift your letters off and you will not have a full word. Okay, so for example, this T, and it's partly because the wood goes down in a dip. So I want to make sure that if the wood's going in a dip, that I'm pushing the letter into those dips before I am lifting off the sticker. And if you don't go too fast and you catch that it's not sticking, you just can go right back down and push it into where it needs to go. So again, it's important. One, make sure your surface is clean and dry. That's why we kind of did the wax early, to give it time to set a little bit. And then from there, we just want to make sure that we don't go too fast. Now, especially when we get to these dots, because they are each little individual designs. We've almost got it here. You can change the tool around, use the edge that you need to use. And there we go. We've got our verse down on there. Perfect. And then I do believe, because I think we sized it this way, the tree fits on top of the tree. So you're not going to see the white through it, but if you want like a shadow look, you could put the transfer down and you could actually put the tree over it and it'll give it like a two-dimensional look or three-dimensional look. I don't know my dimensions. It'll give you a very cool look. All right, so we're ready now to start gluing pieces down. So I'm going to get this stuff out of the way. Now again, you could use your printables, you could use your napkins. There's so many different ways to do this. So you would apply your printable to your triangle the same way I just did the letters. You're going to line it up, press it on, and it's going to come off really easily. For the most part, it should, as long as your paint's dry. Make sure your paint is completely dry because it will not stick if the paint is not completely dried and cured. So that's kind of one of the reasons I went and did the paint first. So we gave it time to really get really dry. Okay, so I'm going to get my glue. All right, so I'm going to take my E6000. Again, you should have a sample one. You're probably going to use all of this if this is the only one that you have between all the different things. But the most important thing to use it on is when you're sticking your small blocks to your bigger blocks, because you want like an industrial type hold. I did try using a combination of the hot glue and this, and it came, the hot glue made it too fat. This couldn't bond and it came off. So I would just use this glue. So I'm just going to put a blob. It's kind of like a, almost like a putty type consistency. And I'm going to line this one up. I just want to try and get it straight. What I like about using this glue is it takes a little bit to cure. So if I need to move it this way, that way, this way, that way, you know, whatever I bump it, it doesn't get straight or it gets off center, you're going to have some time to be able to wiggle it around and move it without having any issues. Where if you had like a hot glue, you know, once it kind of dries, it's just like stuck there, or you have to rip it off, try to peel it off and start over. So that is one of the things I love about this glue. So again, I would get some if you don't have some. I am going to come in just with what's left on my brush, okay, because we already have been using this. And I am going to just antique the edges ever so slightly. I'm just dragging it along the edges, like just barely dragging it. Because I don't want to come in too much, but I'm just trying to give it a not so new look. So again, just catching the edge, barely any pressure. Don't push down this way or you're going to get, you know, you might get a line in there. If that's what you're going for, though, do it. But I'm just trying to just age up the edges of the front, just so it doesn't look so waha, like on top of the other one. Okay, done with that. All right, gonna wipe my hands because I touched the wax. All right, so now we are ready to place these. So what I found works best is you're gonna want to stand them up the way that you're going to be using them. And I'll try and push these forward so you can see me working on. Because what I'm going to want to do is I'm actually going to line them up this way so that I can get, that way I know the bottom is flat and then I know the top, the angles are right where I want them. Because, I'm going to try and make it so that you can see, this bottom piece is round. This bottom piece is straight. Or top piece is straight. So I actually push it back a little bit so it almost lines up with the edge of where the rounding starts. And so it's easiest to see that if you have them in front of you like this. So you can see where it's going to, how it's going to look when you, after it's dry, okay? So for mine, I have to be careful because if I touch where the tree at, the tree's moving. For mine, it's going to be like this, okay? So you can kind of see it's pushed back a little bit. But it's basically wherever you want, however you want it to look when you're looking straight at them, okay? So we're going to get our bottom ones lined up so that they're all perfect. And then we're going to put the glue on the back of these ones, okay? So I would get a little bit at the top here. And then basically you're going to get it in each corner, okay? So I've got just blobs, all right? This is not fancy. All right, and then again, we're going to be able to move it so you don't have to get like so paranoid, but I'm going to stick the first one on there, and then I'm going to go and get my blobs on this one, and my iron's going to yell at me. I don't want to lay that down because I still have the tree on the front is still not set. It's going to cure overnight, basically, is what we're looking at. I'm going to turn that off. Okay. So I'm going to set it this way, and I'm going to go and push it on the front. And then again, you're just going to make sure that they're on the bottom, that they're all the way down onto your table, and that they are where you want them so that when you put them together, and this looks really good to me. Okay, so push it hard. When you push it hard, it actually makes like kind of a suction, but you can still like move it around. Like I'm moving it around. and that's fine. So I just, one, want to make sure that that suction's really good so that everything is on there well. Two, bring them together. See what it's going to look like. Are you fine with them being that far apart? Do you want them to be a little bit closer? So I'm going to move this one a little bit in. I'm going to move this one a little bit in. Okay, and I'm happy with that. So I'm going to flip it around so that you can see it. And then I'm going to leave it. We're going to love it and leave it. It's just going to sit overnight and it's going to cure, okay? And I would actually lay them on their backs. See if I can hold it up. All right, so this is what I have for this version. So you're just going to let that cure overnight. You can let it cure sitting up if you want. You can let it cure laying down back on its back. I don't think it really matters. I think I just left mine sitting up. I'm just going to make sure that I have them, because once it's done like that, it's going to be staying like exactly like that. But yeah, I think we're done. Okay, I'll just flip them back around. I can fix them after because, again, this is going to move for like a little bit. I don't think it's going to keep moving, like being able to move it for like hours or anything, but you have a good few minutes that you can keep messing with it and then just walk away. Okay. So this is the first version that we did, or that I did as the example. Again, this is the transfer. This is a napkin. I painted the tree sage green, same process. And then I did the lines. And then you can see the back is just plain. You could decorate the back too, like if you have a shelf that you can see through. So that's version 1. And then here we are with version 2. So version 2, I did the napkin, the other napkin. I did the stripes again. I just did antiquing on the tree. And then I added my transfers down the side here. So that's how easy this project is. It looks phenomenal, but it's so, so easy. I think any skill level can do this. The biggest thing is if you're using transfers, make sure everything is dry. I can't say that enough. And if you do mess up, just sand it off, start over, go a different direction. It'll be okay. But that's it for this month's kit. When you get yours done, if you decide to do it before we end up doing our live crafting event near the end of May, then make sure that you post it in the group, or if you're going to post it on your own socials, you can tag at Christian Craft Reaper. And then also don't forget, if you are a member and you make the kit and leave a review with a photo, you are entered into a drawing to get $15 in crafting cash that we'll draw at the May live event. So another fun way to earn some free money to shop for crafting. But that's it for today's tutorial. I hope you have fun. I can't wait to see your projects. And until next time, happy crafting.